Hey, everybody, good evening to you. It is Thursday, almost Friday, and it is the 10th of April, 2025. Thanks for being with us tonight on Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton, coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona, and been here the past 2 weeks as Vallow Daybell's trial continues to progress. Would love to know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions. We had an eventful day in court. 5 witnesses on the stand. I'm going to pull up my witness list count. We have now heard from 12 witnesses. The state only has 9 more to go, meaning if you look at the calendar, it's possible they rest next week. Maybe Monday or Tuesday. If they go through 5 a day, the state's done by Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. The witnesses they do have left are firefighters, police officers, the medical examiner. I mean, there'll probably be a little bit more intensive witnesses, but still. And then it's Lori Vallow's turn to do a defense. And if none of her witnesses get in, do we have a verdict by this time next week? I don't know. I'm just saying that this has moved quite rapidly. They went through 12 witnesses in a week, in 4 days. Here's who was on the stand today. It was an eventful day in court, and we've got it all on eastidahonews.com. We had Adam Cox. He was on the stand. We're going to talk about what he said. We also had Sarena Sharp. She was a friend of Lori Vallow's. They met through church, moved to Arizona, and she was a part of the group, you could say. We had William McDonald. He's a Chandler police officer, now retired. Marissa Francisco also works for the Chandler Police Department. She talked about fingerprints on the bat and if they found any in the house. And Kay Woodcock ended the day and had a memorable testimony. We're going to talk all about these testimonies and of course, remember Charles, and then we will take your questions and your shout outs. So please let us know where you're watching from. I'm going to kick it off by going straight to our witnesses. Let's do that. Adam Cox, imagine I've got 4 siblings. Today's my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Ariane. And she, I won't tell you how old she's turning. She's never going to watch this. She's unplugged. She's not on social media. And, so anyway, happy birthday, Ariane. She's my younger sister. We shared a room growing up, and we were very close. So happy birthday to her. I just cannot imagine in a million years showing up in a courthouse and having my sister there to testify at a trial where I've been where I have been accused of conspiring to kill my wife, and approaching the stand and saying, Miss Coultrin, that's her last name, much like Lori did today with Mr. Cox, her brother. I'm going to play you what she said and how she approached her brother on the stand. It's just so sad. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Adam's testimony with Trina Kay, the prosecutor. He talked about how he comes from a family of 5 kids, that Lori moved around a bit, that they weren't particularly close, at least physically, all through their adult years, but they had a lot of family activities. They'd always get together 10 times a year and hang out and have birthday parties and family gatherings and be together for the holidays. And he talked about that he's a member of the LDS Church, that Alex was excommunicated 2 times. And what that means is there's certain standards that the church has, that if you don't live if those standards and you do things that are particularly egregious, you are dismissed from the church, excommunicated. And Adam said that Alex was excommunicated twice. We had heard that before. I believe that one happened when he was on his mission or shortly after he got home, and then another later on. And he talked about how Lori and Alex became particularly unusually close in the last few years of Alex's life before Alex passed away. Here's a little bit more of what he said about, well, I should back it up by saying Adam was close with Charles. They got along. They texted each other. Charles was somebody that Adam felt he could trust. Charles trusted Adam compared to the rest of the family members, especially during this really difficult time when Lori was saying these crazy things. And so Adam, of course, went to Charles for help, for assistance. But before we get to that clip, here's where Adam became concerned. 1, because there was marital problems, but 2, Lori started to talk about religious stuff that Adam just didn't agree with and didn't line up to the church doctrine.
At some point, did you learn or become aware of the fact that Lori and Charles were having some marital problems?
Yes.
Um, just yes or no, did you ever talk to Charles about why he and Lori were having marital problems?
Yes.
You yourself personally, were you aware of Lori having any beliefs that were outside of what is accepted by the LDS religion?
Yes.
Can you tell us what you were aware of that you knew to be outside the LDS religion?
Lori told me that she was in the process of translating from a mortal human being to an immortal human being, a celestial state.
That's something that the LDS religion supports?
I haven't heard of it that it's happened here on Earth yet.
Did you ever hear her talking about being married to someone that is relevant in your religion?
Yes, I have heard that.
Did she tell that to you?
I don't know. I can't recall her telling me that, but I remember other people telling me that.
Okay. Was there anything else that you recall her telling you that she believed that seemed outside the LDS religion?
Yes. There was a time where she told me that she had more priesthood authority than the priesthood.
And why, can you explain for us what that means, why that was significant to you?
In our religion, the men hold the priesthood, and she said that she's in a state where she's above that.
Okay.
I didn't quite understand it, but very strange.
Did you confront her about these beliefs?
Confront her? No.
Did you discuss with her about these beliefs?
I just let her say what she wanted to say.
Was there ever a conversation where, when she was telling you these things, where she asked if you thought she was crazy?
Yes.
And how did you respond to that?
I said, I don't know if you're crazy, but what you're telling me is not true. It's not real.
After you said that, what happened to your relationship with Lori?
She stopped talking to me.
So the relationship ended, so to speak, in so many words. As Adam is testifying there in the courtroom, Colby Ryan, Lori's son, is in the gallery. He's on the front row aisle seat. He came today to see his mom and to see the testimony. He's not a witness, but he walked in, and I noticed when he was sitting there in the beginning, when his mom walked in, he just stared at her, I think trying to catch her eye. And eventually they did make eyes. And in a moment, I'm going to play you an interview I did with Colby after the hearing was over outside the courtroom, outside the courthouse. It's the first time he's seen his mom in person since he testified at her trial 2 years ago this month. And anyway, we'll play that for you. So Adam Cox is there talking about their family in the courtroom, talking about how Lori and Charles are having marital problems, that Lori says that she's got the priesthood. And he didn't say that the person high up in the church who Lori said she was married to, but it was Moroni. We know that from the other trials, that Lori believes she's sealed, married to the prophet Moroni. Moroni, if you've ever seen an LDS temple, is the golden statue on top of the temple. And it's holding a trumpet, and he's a prophet in the Book of Mormon. And Lori has said that she was sealed, married for eternity to this prophet. Well, Adam goes on to talk about that Charles reached out to him and was concerned about his wife's behavior, very concerned, and says, we need to do something. She's going to the temple 4 or 5 times a week. That's not normal. And maybe they came up with a plan. Maybe if we can get the stake president, who's over the geographical area of the congregations, if we can get him to take away her temple recommend, which is like a pass, you have to go to your leaders of your congregations every 2 years and ask for your recommend. And they ask you 10 or 15 questions, are you living worthy? Do you consider yourself worthy to go to the temple? And if you say yes, and the leaders, believe that you're telling the truth, you get a recommend. Lori had a recommend and was going to the temple all the time. Charles said maybe the way that we can snap her back to reality is by having her recommend taken away. So Adam and Charles come up with this idea that they're going to get her on tape, audio tape, recording, saying some of these crazy beliefs. And then they're going to take the recording to the stake president and play it for him so that he can clearly see that she should not be going to the temple. But they were worried that if Lori knew any of this, she would take off because she was known to wander. She was known to take off. She was flighty, Adam's words. So Charles was desperate, Adam said. He needed help. And Adam was willing to help him. They were going to do this recording. Adam was going to fly in to Arizona. He was living in Wichita at the time. Charles offered to pay for his ticket. And he was going to stay at Alex's house. Adam lands in Arizona the 10th, the day before Charles was killed. He texts Adam, "I'm at the airport." No response. He calls him. No response. He said it was very weird for Alex to do this. So Adam ends up going to stay with his parents. They went to lunch. They hang out there the rest of the day. The next morning, there's some text messages that come in from Charles because Adam knew Charles was going to go over to the house to pick up JJ to take him to school. Charles pulls up and says, "Al is here." And immediately Adam's concerned. Why is Alex there at Lori's house? One, it's 7:00 in the morning. And two, he never got back to me. Something's up. And Adam responded, "They're planning something." And they showed these texts in court. Then the communication from Charles stopped. Adam sent a message saying, "I'm going to go play basketball tonight at the church with Zach, his son, and Brandon Boudreau, and maybe the stake president, the one who they were going to play these recordings for, maybe he'll be there playing basketball or doing interviews. And if so, I'll give him the recording and we can tell him what's going on." Charles never responded. So Adam's a little concerned, a little freaked out, and he's wondering what is going on. And the next day, nothing. He said he came to Arizona for 3 reasons. One, to help Charles with this plan, this intervention. And they didn't tell any members of the extended family, especially Alex, because they were worried he would tell Lori. So he came to do the intervention. He came to go see a friend in Tucson, and he came to see his son, Zach, who was living in Arizona at the time. The next day, he goes to Tucson to see his friend Eric. And here's what happened.
So you're in Tucson and you start talking to your friend about Charles.
Yes.
Do you learn at some point that Charles has been killed?
Yes. I was talking with Eric saying something doesn't feel right. I haven't heard from Charles, and usually he would text me or send me a message or something. And then Eric asked me, he goes, "Well, what's his last name?" And I said, "Vallow." And he was on his computer and he just Googled Charles Vallow. And he said it popped up that he's been killed by his brother-in-law.
So you learn this. What is going through your mind now?
Just everything, chaos. I had a knot in my stomach. Just probably one of the worst feelings I've ever felt in my life.
Obviously, you had been concerned that something was being planned when you told Charles that on the morning of the 11th, right? But
well,
not that.
Not that, but yeah, it felt like something was off. Why Alex would be at Lori's house that morning.
Did you know your brother Alex to carry guns with him?
Yes.
Did he regularly go shooting with guns?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to Charles being shot and killed, did you ever tell Lori that you were going to be trying to do this intervention with her?
No.
Prior to Charles being shot, did you ever tell Alex, hey, I'm going to stay with you, but we're trying to do an intervention with Lori?
No.
What about your parents? Did you ever tell them you were going to try to do an intervention?
No.
Your sister Summer?
No.
So if your sister told detectives a couple hours after Charles was shot that she was confronting Charles about you and Charles talking and texting, it wasn't something that you told her about?
No.
Well, Charles went on to, Adam never saw Charles again, and the testimony continued where Adam said Alex would often go shooting and liked guns. And then Trina asked Adam about Nephi. Now remember, this goes back to the opening statements where Trina said, Lori said, I must be like Nephi. But some of us, we've talked about this before, know the story of Nephi. I talked about it the other night, about how he killed a wicked man. But the jury doesn't know that. The jury doesn't know the background. So Trina asked Adam, explain who Nephi is and what he did. And here's was Adam's response.
Can you tell us about the story of Nephi?
Nephi? Well, Nephi was a prophet in the Book of Mormon. It's the first chapter. He was a prophet, very humble and faithful servant of the Lord. Ironically enough, his brothers tried to kill him at one point. But he actually ended up going to Jerusalem to get these plates back, and he was run off, came back, and then went back again because the Lord asked him to. And when he did, the King Laban, who was actually a wicked king, was laying on the ground drunk in front of him. And Nephi was told to kill Laban.
Who was he told by?
The spirit, or, God.
So God was using a Holy Spirit to tell him to kill Laban? And
Yes.
did he?
Yes, he did.
Was that something he anguished over?
Yes.
But ultimately, it was a justified killing.
Yes.
Justified killing, and it happened according, that's how Lori saw herself. And she said that to Alex, I will be like Nephi, and so will you. Well, now it was Lori's turn to cross-examine her brother. By the way, we have his entire testimony, like all the others, on our YouTube channel if you want to watch it. And this was interesting, very interesting part of the trial for Lori to get up and cross-examine her husband and talk about her enchiladas, which was an interesting thing to say. I will say, without divulging too much, that in my conversations with Lori, because I told her it was off the record, she has told me about other dishes that she is very well known for that she makes. I haven't heard about the enchiladas until today. Here is that moment when Lori Vallow Daybell stood up to cross-examine her brother.
Mr. Cox, how long has it been since we've seen each other in person?
Don't know.
When was the last time you saw me?
I don't recall.
So, has it been a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years,
Something
6
like
years,
that.
7 years, 8 years?
Something?
Okay. So, you have no idea.
Nope.
You have no idea when the last time you saw me in person.
I don't know the year or how many years it's been.
Okay. So, did you see me at Colby's wedding in January 2018?
No, I was not there.
You didn't come to Colby's wedding.
No, I did not.
So did you see me sometime that year at my house
Possibly.
where Colby got married? That house.
I did see you at that house, yes.
At least one time.
Yes.
So possibly in 2018.
Yes.
And when was the last time we had any communications?
The last time I remember our communications was you and I were speaking in the kitchen when the family was over.
Okay, so you think that was that time in 2018?
I think so.
Okay. And were we eating my green chili chicken enchiladas?
Do not remember that.
You do not remember that?
Nope.
Is that what I made every time we had a family get together, which was like 10 times a year?
I don't remember that.
Okay. And when was the last time that we had a phone call or text message?
I have no idea.
Could it possibly be around that exact same time?
Possibly.
Okay. So that was possibly in early 2018?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you think initiated the final communication in our relationship?
Who concluded it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So right now it's 2025, is that correct?
Yes.
And so we haven't spoken in about 8 years? Would that be correct?
Probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay. So would you say up until that point that how often would we communicate before that?
Before what?
Before 2018?
Probably on a regular basis. Once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month.
Like a call or a text message?
Yes.
Just keeping in touch?
Yes.
You know of us living in Hawaii and you were living in Kansas at the time?
Yes.
And in your career, you lived in lots of different places, is that correct?
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Dallas,
Yes.
New York,
Yes.
Wichita,
Yes.
Sacramento.
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
Others.
And I was in Texas,
Yes.
Arizona,
Yes.
Hawaii.
Yes.
So would you say that we were not physically close during the past 20 years?
Yes, I would say that.
So our communication would be solely family get-togethers, occasional text messages. Is that correct?
And phone calls, yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Cox, did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
Repeat that again?
Okay. Did you see with your eyes or hear with your ears or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
No.
Thank you. No more questions.
That's the first time they've spoken in over 5 years, and it's in a courtroom. And when will they speak again? I have no idea. Maybe never. It's just so take out all the tragedy surrounding all this. It's just so sad to me when you think about these siblings that grew up together and were close and had enchiladas together. However you want to say it, however you want to think about it, it's just another element of tragedy to the story. After Adam Cox, Sarena Sharp was up. Sarena Sharp is she's a mother, I think, of 5. She said she lived in Connecticut, moved to Arizona, met Lori at, they were in the same faith. They also attended the Preparing a People conferences, which were the kind of the end of times conferences, preparing for the second coming of Jesus, how to have a food storage, emergency preparedness, things like that. We've gone in depth about that over the years. And when she flew into Arizona, she had known Melanie Gibb. She did not know who Lori was, and she had made arrangements with Melanie Gibb to either stay at Melanie's house or Jason Mao's house, another person who was kind of in this group and going to these conferences. She lands in Phoenix. Melanie Gibb picks her up from the airport, and Melanie says, we're not actually going to stay at my house because it's a little chaotic with the family. We're going to stay at my friend's house. And that's where she meets Lori Vallow for the first time. And Lori was there, and that's where she met Chad. Chad Daybell was also there. And they end up, having the weekend together, going to the Preparing a People conference. She ended up going to Idaho for another Preparing a People conference a bit later, met up with Chad there. She was looking at maybe moving to Idaho and met up with a realtor, and then also saw Chad. And then ended up being invited to a girls' weekend in Arizona again. And this was something that Zulema Pastenes reached out to her and said, please come to this girls' weekend. It was Zulema, Lori, Christina, who testified yesterday, Nicole, Melanie Gibb, and maybe that was it. Maybe Melanie Pulowski, she said. So she goes to this girls' weekend, and at this time, Sarena is active in the LDS church and knows the beliefs. And she said there was just some weird stuff, some weird talk about the teachings and everything. And here's how she said that girls' weekend went and why she was uncomfortable with it.
Now, were all of you women members of the LDS church?
Yes.
During this time, did Lori ever tell you things about her beliefs that seemed to go against what you understood or what you were taught through the LDS church?
Yes.
Did Lori ever tell you that she did not need to repent?
Yes, she did.
What does repenting mean?
Repenting means turning to God and confessing our sins and repairing our relationship with Him so that He can take on our sins for us and we can become better people through Him and seek His forgiveness.
Do you recall what Lori told you about not needing to repent anymore?
What I remember is she's had a couple of verses in the Bible that she pulled out and read and then said, I believe something to the effect of, I believe we don't need to repent anymore.
Did that stand out to you?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Was that
That was
concerning
shocking.
to you?
Pardon?
Was that concerning to you?
Very.
I think you just said you were shocked by it.
Yes.
It was that against your religion.
Correct.
Did she ever express to you and this group that all of you might not need to repent?
I don't remember the specifics of it. If she was trying to apply that to us or just to her, I don't remember. I just remember she said we, or generally, I don't remember the specific words she used, but that there was not a need for repentance anymore.
Do you recall, have you been interviewed by the police a couple different times?
Yes.
Do you recall being interviewed in April of 2021?
Was that was the Chandler Police
At
Department?
the police department instead of at your home? Do you recall saying to the detectives then that she said, we don't need to repent anymore. We've come to that stage. And then you were asked when she said we, was she talking about like her and Chad or all you guys? And you said she was trying to get all of us to believe that. you recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that, but if that's in the transcripts, that was much closer to the time when it was said. It's been a few years. I don't remember exactly what was said anymore.
So your memory back then would have been better than now?
For sure.
As it would with any
So
of
if
us.
you had told the police back then that she was trying to, in fact, tell everyone that you could follow along with this belief of not repenting, you would have been truthful to the police back then.
Of course, yes.
Okay, so she says that she remembered telling the police years ago that Lori was saying this. During this girls' weekend, they also did the casting out of the evil spirit of Charles, and Lori said that Charles had an evil spirit. They all said a prayer together, and each had an individual prayer where they would pray that this evil spirit would leave Charles. And the evil spirit, of course, we know is named Ned. And Sarena said that it was so weird because this was something that had never been done in a group setting before for me, where I'd see this group get together and cast out a spirit. She'd never seen it before. Then it was a while after that Charles died. Not a while, within a few months. And Sarena went to see Lori because she was, her friend's husband had died. And she went over to the house and she said that Lori was just behaving so weird, especially weird considering that her husband was no longer here. Well, Lori, I don't think, liked the testimony of Sarena today. It's interesting to see her get so fired up with the different witnesses. And some she doesn't get fired up, but some she does. And Sarena, she did. I would say the cross-examination was one of the longest ones she's done thus far. I'm not going to play you the whole thing. I'm going to play you some clips. There'll be a white flash that kind of shows. You can watch the whole thing on our channel, but you'll see some white flashes that show kind of where the edits are of some of the most interesting points, including how Lori begins the cross-examination. Take a look.
Ms. Sharp, did you take an oath when you came into this courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Did you raise your hand?
Yes, I did.
Did you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I did.
The whole truth?
Yes.
Nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So help you who?
God.
So can we agree that this court acknowledges that your testimony here today will be accountable to God?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the relevance of this.
Sustained.
Your Honor, they brought up the religion.
Ask for a response. It's sustained. Ask the next question.
Do you believe that your testimony here will be accountable to God?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Sharp, how many times did we meet in person?
4.
How many one-on-one conversations during those meetings do you think that we actually had? Just you and me. Nobody else around. Just you and me.
Maybe 2.
2 conversations in our whole lives.
Maybe
Just
3.
me and you.
You said during those meetings.
During the 4 times that we saw each other in person, how many times did you and I have a one-on-one conversation where other people were not in the conversation? Just me and you.
I can remember 3.
Okay? And how many times did we communicate on the phone?
Do you want me to estimate? I don't remember how many times.
Sure, just an estimate.
I'm not sure how to estimate that. Multiple times?
Like more than 10 or less than 10?
Probably more than 10.
More than 20?
I don't remember.
So in the instance when you said that I mentioned to you something about zombies, I would like to know what I said to you exactly verbatim about zombies.
Well, I remember we talked about zombies in 2019 for the girls' weekend. You had mentioned zombies.
I mentioned zombies at that weekend out of my mouth, and not someone else, but me.
Object to argumentative.
Overruled, you can ask, why don't you rephrase that question?
Okay. So you're saying, under oath, that I said the word zombies at that meeting, or I'll go with that.
To the best of my recollection, it was that weekend during the girls' weekend, 2019.
And
Again, that was 6 years ago, so like verbatim, I don't remember verbatim, but I think it was that weekend.
So it could have been that someone else was talking to you about zombies, but I was actually there also. Is that correct?
I'm going to object that the witness has answered that question and said it was her.
Overruled, she can answer.
Would you mind restating, please?
Is it possible that someone else said the word zombie and not me at that meeting when we were all there with the girls?
It's possible, but I don't think it was. I think
Okay,
it
then
was
what
you.
did I say exactly about zombies? I want to know the sentence I said to you about zombies.
Hold on.
Again, just
Ask questions, okay?
I
make
object to
statements.
asked and answered.
So rephrase your question.
What sentence did I say to you with the word zombie in it?
And I'm going to object to asked and answered.
Technically, it has been asked and answered, but go ahead and answer.
Again, I don't remember verbatim. That was, 6 years ago?
So it could be possible that it really never came out of my mouth. Is that true?
Okay, I'm going to object again to asked and answered now a third time.
Sustained.
Ms. Sharp, who are the three Nephites in the Book of Mormon?
The three Nephites? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
In 3rd Nephi 28, the three Nephites, do you know who they are?
Off the top of my head, no.
You do not know who they are.
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay. In the Bible, do you know of John the Revelator?
Yes?
Do you know of John the Revelator being translated?
I don't remember that, but
You don't remember that? What about in the Old Testament, Elijah? Was he translated?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance.
What's the relevance?
I've been accused of being out of the scope of the LDS religion when this is exactly in the scope of the LDS religion.
All right, I guess to the extent you're comparing yourself to these biblical figures, I'll allow it.
related? Yes, I believe so.
Okay. But you don't know that John the Revelator was translated as well?
I can't remember.
And then the three Nephites in the Book of Mormon, they're translated as well?
No, there were three. You asked me their names. I don't remember their
I
names.
wasn't asking their names. I said, do you know who they are? As in, are you aware of them? I'm sorry. I'll be more specific. Are you aware of the three Nephites in the Book of Mormon?
Yes.
That they were translated?
Yes.
So is it fair to say that that isn't uncommon in the Christian belief system, to believe in people being translated?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question for all of Christianity.
Okay. Are you a Christian that believes in the Bible?
Yes.
Object, Your Honor, to relevance.
I'll allow it briefly, but hurry up and make your point.
Yes, I believe in the Bible. Of course.
And Elijah in the Bible is translated, right?
Yes.
And you believe in that, right?
Yes.
And you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is that correct?
Correct.
So that would not be out of the scope of what you believe. That's all I'm asking.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, so the questioning continues. You can watch the whole thing on our channel. And we then had a sergeant or a detective from the police department from Chandler. He's a cell phone expert. He's the one that took Charles's phone, and basically you take the phone, you download all the data through a program called Cellbrite, and then they put it in a container, and you can't read all the data. Everything's like, from the way I understood it, everything's like dumped into a big container. And if you were to open the container, you'd be like, what is all this? You need a special reader type program to read the data. And they split it into texts, videos, music, images, whatever. And so that's what that guy did with Charles's phone. But he made it clear that he's not the one who then took that and analyzed the data. Someone else did. And I would imagine we're going to hear from that person next week. This was the only thing this guy did was take it. But I did want to play one of the questions, or one of the jurors had a question, and the judge asked it, and it was kind of interesting. So here's a short little snippet what the juror asked about the cell phone data.
The question is, if someone were to delete their browser history, can you still pull the history?
On occasion. Browser history and any internet data like that, especially on cell phones, over time, if it's been deleted, it can be overwritten. However, if it is more recent, and sometimes by recent, we are actually talking within the last year or so, that information, regardless of it being deleted, can be recovered by the software.
So the juror got the question answered, and now if you think your data's deleted, it's not. They can keep it up to a year. So be careful with that. The next witness was Marissa Francisco. She works with Chandler Police. In the interest of time, I'm not going to play any clips from her. You can go watch her testimony. Basically, she's in charge of the latent prints, the fingerprints. And in layman's terms, they tested the bat for prints. There were 2 prints that they possibly thought might match to someone. The people they tried to match those prints against were Charles, Alex, and Lori, and they came back inconclusive. Both prints. We don't know whose prints those were. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, obviously, if it would be a more solid case, perhaps for the prosecution, if it was Charles's, or for the defense, I guess, if Charles's prints were on there. But if it was Alex's prints on there, that would have been interesting. But regardless, we don't know whose prints those were. And Lori did ask, was their DNA test done? Marissa said there were DNA tests done, but that's outside of her job. That's outside of her purview. Then we had Kay Woodcock. And man, this woman has, we've known Kay for 5.5 years now, and she's put this story out there, made the investigation happen when she called on the welfare check for JJ. This was finally Kay's chance to look Lori in the eye and answer the question. She's done it before. She did it at the sentencing in Idaho. But the way that it was set up, she was here and Lori was here. They were like next to each other. They weren't like face to face like you and I are. Well, now it was Kay's turn to answer Lori's questions. But before that, she took questions from Trina Kay. She talked about how there's 6 kids in the family. Charles was number 3. Charles was the best dad, loved JJ. Financial planner. Kay helped with his books for the business. He was minor league drafted to the Houston Astros. Charles converted to the LDS church after meeting Lori. He was not raised LDS. And Kay said that her and Lori had a pretty decent relationship. Lori was friendly and outgoing and had a great personality. But in 2018, when Charles's mom died and Kay's mother passed away, Lori didn't go to the funeral. And Kay thought that was not only weird, but appalling. Those were her words. She was appalled. And then things started to really go crazy in 2019 when Charles became nervous for his safety. And he decided that he needed to change his passwords on his accounts. We know about the $1 million life insurance policy. He changed the beneficiary from Lori to Kay, but no one told Lori. Kay said she didn't even think about it after the fact. She just thought, okay. And she didn't even know for sure if he had done it till the life insurance policy company called her after Charles died. Well, then it was decided after Lori took off for Hawaii and nobody knew where she was, and Charles is trying to raise JJ alone, that he needs some help. And Kay's like, you know what? I'm going to come to Houston, because he had moved to Houston and she was in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Sorry. He had moved to Phoenix. He was living in Phoenix, and they decided he was going to move to Phoenix. He was going to move to Houston. So, because Houston's closer to Lake Charles. So Kay said, let's move you to Houston. When you need to travel for work, I will come and pay and watch JJ. You don't have to pay a nanny or a babysitter. I'll do it. So Kay flies to Phoenix to help Charles pack up the house. And Lori shows up. She's been gone for 50-something days, and no one knows where she's at. And she shows up. And here's what happened.
Remember when you were packing up to move Charles to Houston?
Yes.
You there?
I was there.
Did Lori show back up?
She did. I was in the pantry in the kitchen, packing up the pantry, and I don't know what, just something caught my attention, and I walked out and she was standing there. She had her back to me. Charles was sitting at the table on his phone, and he obviously didn't realize that she was there. And then finally, when he hung up, he looked up and there she was, and he started crying, and she started yelling.
Do you recall what she was yelling about?
That, why did you take JJ? Why did you take JJ? Why did you take him out of school? Why are you moving? What are you doing? All this is your fault. It was just ridiculous.
So she'd been gone for 58 days, leaving,
No contact whatsoever.
and then she shows up at the house when you guys are moving out.
Yeah.
What was Charles's demeanor reaction? You said he was crying?
He was at first, but then he was just trying. Charles was a very soft-spoken man, and he was just trying to get a word in edgewise. And finally, Lori settled down a little bit, and they went and they talked for a while in the living room, or the I guess it's like a great room, and then they moved to the bedroom to talk. And I could still hear every now and then Lori would get a little loud, but they were talking. And then I remember that Lori came. Let's see, I was sitting at the dining table, and she stood next to me and she said, I love you, KK. And I said, well, I love you too. I'm sorry this is happening. And she cried, and I didn't know what to do, really. So, I mean, I just was there. And then she walked off, and the next day she came. I don't know who came, but they got Tylee's belongings out of the casita where all of Tylee's belongings were. And I don't remember if she got anything of hers. I really don't remember.
Well, after that, the day Charles died, so there's still drama. And Kay knows that there's drama, but she had no idea, obviously, that Lori was planning to allegedly kill her brother. And the day that her brother died, Charles, she is at the nail salon, and she gets a call. And here's how that played out.
How did you learn that your brother Charles was dead?
It was on July the 12th. I was at a nail salon in Lake Charles, my granddaughter and I, and I got a call from his oldest son, Cole, and he said, hey, what is going on? I just got a text from Lori, and she said, Dad's dead. And I said, wait, what did you just say? And he told me again, and I said, something's wrong with that. That can't be true. And I said, have you tried to call her? And Cole's like, yeah, she won't. I'm trying calling. She's not answering. He was freaking out. And I was like, okay, Cole, just give me a minute. Let me think about this. Let me see. And I'll call you back. I promise. As soon as I can figure this out. So I called my husband to tell him, and he said, okay, well, I told him that what the Cole said, and he said, hey, let me call you back in a minute. And so I was still at the nail salon trying to get out of there. And he called and he said, he's dead. I Googled him and he's dead. Alex killed him yesterday. And I mean, that was just like, it was horrible. I have to call my siblings and let them know. Thank you. And everybody was freaked out. I didn't know what to do. But I did call Cole back and let him know that it was true, and just was telling him, let's keep in touch. You find out something, I'll find out something. We'll let each other know. And
Did you try to reach out to Lori?
I've tried calling, texting Charles. I tried calling, texting Lori. And at some point, she texted me. She returned a text, something like, I'm having to deal with a lot of stuff and I'm busy. And she was too busy to even call his family to say that he was dead by her brother killing him. And
Take a breath. So you had tried to reach her and she was too busy to talk to you.
yeah.
And when Kay finally did go over to the house to get this stuff, there was like nothing left. And we know I've spoken with Charles's sons before years ago and did a story. If you want to go look it up about the text messages, they showed me. We published the texts that Lori sent to the sons, that back and forth, and how he had all this nice watch collection and she didn't leave any of that for his sons. The next communication that Kay had from Lori was when Lori learned that she didn't get the money from the life insurance, and she sent Kay a photo of the beneficiary form and said something to the effect of 5 kids. I'm raising 5 kids and his sister-in-law gets all the money, which Kay said was ridiculous because she wasn't raising 5 kids. Colby was out of the house. Cole and Zach were out of the house. So there was 2 kids, Tylee and JJ, and Tylee was almost an adult. Then it was time for Lori to cross-examine Kay. And boy, I gotta say, I was kind of looking forward to this because Kay is not a shrinking violet. Kay will speak her mind. The cross did not go as expected, though, in my opinion. It was short, and I'll play it for you right here.
Ms. Woodcock, where were you on July 11th, 2019?
At home in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Were you aware at all of the relationship between Charles and Tylee?
It was, let's say, it was a bit contemptuous. It seemed like there was always a lot of drama going on, and so that's all I knew. He didn't say too much about it, and I didn't pry.
But you knew that there was some kind of contention going on with those two for
I
a
can't
while.
hear you.
I'm sorry. You did know that there was some kind of contention going on with those two for a while.
Yes.
Okay. And you weren't really aware of the events that happened that morning, were you?
The morning of
July
his
el-
murder?
Of July 11th?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Because you didn't tell me.
Ms. Woodcock, did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with Alex Cox to kill my husband, Charles Vallow?
No, but I saw a ton of evidence that did.
Thank you. No further questions.
No, but I saw a ton of evidence that did. Whew, what a line. Remember how Lori repeatedly said the evidence will show? And Lori did not follow up with, what evidence did you see, Miss Woodcock? Which you would think might be a question for a witness to say, what I saw a ton of evidence. You would think the follow-up would be what evidence, but Lori did not want to go there. And that was the end of court today. I did catch up with Colby after court outside, and here's what he had to say about going and seeing his mother for the first time. All right, Colby, what'd you think today?
A lot of emotions, got to process that. Really weird to see her in person, and really just different to witness her in that state. It's hard.
Did you make eye contact with your mom at all?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
She smiled at me for 10 seconds, probably straight, uncomfortable, and confusing.
I
Yeah.
noticed at one point you were kind of trying to catch her eye when you walked in.
Yeah.
But she didn't know you were going to be here, right?
No, she didn't know. She had no idea I was going to be here. So I think she was, I don't know when she saw me, but obviously I looked for that contact at first. I guess I never know what's going to happen with that. And yeah, it was just surreal.
What is it like sitting in the courtroom and having your family talked about it? JJ, Tylee, having Kay take the stand. I mean, Adam talking about the family dynamic.
It's surreal. It feels like a bad dream almost. It doesn't feel like real life, if I'm being honest with you. It mostly feels like, how could I put this? It feels like I'm watching it in third person almost, because it is so crazy. And that probably happened, crossed my mind 3 or 4 times, that I can't believe this is my family. I can't believe that's my mom, and I can't believe they're all here talking about the people that I grew up with in my direct family.
What have you thought about your mom questioning some of these witnesses over the past few days?
I've just noticed her attitude, how bad it is. I've noticed how rude she is, and I think more than anything, she's just disrespectful, and it's hard to watch anybody talk to other people like that. And yeah, I don't know how to gauge the fact that she's just rude. Yeah.
So you're gonna give more of your thoughts tonight on your channel or this weekend? Or?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Even though we sat there all day, I'm pretty tired. But I think it's exhausting. It's weird, but honestly, yeah, I probably will break down my thoughts tonight and really process this for the next couple hours, and then hop on and just talk about the experience for sure.
Good, so people can catch it. Tell everybody the name of your channel again.
YouTube channel name is Colby J. Ryan. So if you just put that on YouTube, you'll find it.
Anything you want to add?
No, that's it.
How old are you now?
I'm 29 now.
29.
Oh man.
All right, 29.
Oh man.
Colby's birthday was this week, thanks to many of you who told me that. And so he turned 29. Oh, to be 29 again. I remember when I was 29 and people told me that. And I'm like, oh, so old, especially when I hit 30. Thanks to Colby. So good seeing you today, Colby. And thanks for chatting with me after court. Here's a photo of Charles Vallow with his brothers from much happier days. Years ago, I believe. Boy, Kay told me when she gave me this photo, 2012-ish, something like that, when they were at a Christmas party or some sort of holiday gathering when this photo was taken. And tonight we remember Charles Vallow as we learn more and more about his final days and how desperate he was to get out of his relationship and get JJ and care for JJ. And it ended so tragic. So thinking about him tonight, along with JJ and Tylee and Colby, who, lost his family. and all of the people who testified today. It's been a week. I know I say it's gone fast, but you think about it. We've heard 12 witnesses in 4 days, and these jurors are really taking it all in, trying to digest it all and hear this stuff. And it's got to be something that they walk out of there and think, this is wild. This is wild. I do want to thank our sponsor, Alan Browning from Browning Law in Idaho Falls. They're sponsoring Courtroom Insider. We appreciate their support. I got to show you my car from Teton Toyota. They hooked me up with this Prius to have here to drive around. Gets great mileage. Thanks to Teton Toyota. They do rent cars. If you're looking for a car rental, you can contact them. I got to tell you, tomorrow, guess who's going to be here? We're going to do Courtroom Insider tomorrow. I said I wasn't sure about Fridays, but I'm in town. I'm going to go explore Phoenix this weekend. Brianna from one of the news stations here, CBS Phoenix, I believe it's CBS. AZ Family is what it's called. She interviewed Lori a few days ago, and she gave me an incredible list of things to do. It is so comprehensive. I could spend a year doing it, but we're going to go out. If you have any suggestions for me to do this weekend, I'm going to try to unplug a little bit, not be on my phone, and just go out and explore. And, but that being said, we are going to do Courtroom Insider tomorrow night, and Larry Woodcock is going to join me. Larry has not been here. Larry has been in Louisiana. We're going to talk about his response to Kay testifying today, what he thinks of the trial so far, what it's like to watch and hear about this taking place. Also, Tom Evans, the juror who was on Lori's case in Idaho, he is here too. He's been in the trial every day. I'm going to talk to him, get his thoughts about how the trial is going, maybe one or two other special guests. But what I need from you is I want to include you in the program tomorrow night. And here's what I'm asking. If you want, send me a 10-second video, not 15, not 20, not 30, 10 seconds or less, giving me your one takeaway from this trial so far. That's it. Your one takeaway, 10 seconds. If it's over 10 seconds, I'm not going to put it on. You got to make it 10 seconds. Send it to me on my Facebook page, which you can find right here, Nate Eaton Reporter. I think you can send video through X or Instagram. I would recommend Facebook on my page, and then there's our East Idaho News page. You can also email it to Peggy, our moderator. And what I'm going to do is put a bunch of these, and tomorrow I'll play some of them for you. 10 seconds or less, your one takeaway from the trial thus far. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So tomorrow will be a little bit more casual. Oh, I forgot to say, there's no hearing tomorrow. The judge had said earlier this week that there might be a hearing to talk about Lori's expert, but there's not going to be. Now, maybe there'll be a last-minute hearing, and I hope that we have plenty of notice that I'm not up in the mountains somewhere. But if there is, we'll bring it to you. But for now, there is no hearing. So I know many of you have asked that. All right, let me get to some shout-outs in cities. Carol Brenton, an Idahoan living in Kenya. Awesome. Good for you, Carol. Thanks for watching. Pam S., Jody, Jenny, and Jamie. Brittany Kimmel, Lynn Gannis, you've watched since before I went to Hawaii. You've never missed a show. Well, how nice. I should get like Courtroom Insider Faithful shirts. Ali B, Dion, Sarah Faddis, Jamie Walls. Happy birthday, Jamie. A lot of April birthdays here. Valerie Johnson, Sue Houston, Jennifer Kennedy, Wendy Gunn, Dan Johnson, Jackie Summer, and Linda Greenwood. Thank you all very much for watching and for letting me give you a shout out. Tonight we have people watching in Germany, Auckland, New Zealand, Israel, wow, Niagara Falls, New York, Freeport, Maine, Burbank, California, Scotland, Poland, the UK, Ghana, Salem, Idaho, hi Salem, Norway, Edgewood, New Mexico, and Dartmouth, Massachusetts. Amazing. Here we go with some questions. Elizabeth, I love watching Courtroom Insider for a third year in a row, but why do we have to have shout outs? Did these people pay or donate to East Idaho News to get their names on the air? I wish the program would leave this out. I realize that I know more about these cases than most, but also I think many of the questions are repetitive. Granted, some people are just joining, but when you have already answered the question, the current Courtroom Insider, I don't think you should take time to rehash the answer. Is Peggy watching, and does she realize that these questions have been asked? Elizabeth, no, you don't have to pay to get a shout out. You don't have to donate to East Idaho News. It's nothing like that. Will occasionally shout out people that do donate. And the reason we do shout outs is because I want to. So just know that at the end of every program, you can stop watching before the shout outs and you probably won't miss much more if you don't want to watch the shout outs. It's just a way for me to interact with you, to hear from you, to get your questions. Also, questions being repetitive. I realize that sometimes I think the same thing, like I've answered this 5 times, but every single night we have brand new people watching. If you're a first timer, raise your hand tonight. And so my goal, I can't assume that everyone knows everything about this case. I can't assume that you know the first thing I said tonight. Yes, you can go back and rewind, and that's it, if you want to. But otherwise, I'm going to try to answer the questions, maybe take 5 or 10 seconds. Peggy does read the questions, and sometimes she sends them in if a lot of people are asking. So, Patricia says, can you please explain the headphones when they read juror questions or go on a sidebar? I'm used to the white noise and whispers during sidebar. The sidebar deal is for the judge to communicate with Lori and to communicate with the prosecution. They each put on headphones and a microphone, and they play white noise so that no one can hear anything, so that there's no chance of them hearing anything. That's why it works in this trial, so that Lori, because she's on trial herself, she's a defendant, she shouldn't approach the judge. We did see her approach the judge this morning. The judge invited her up before the jury was in there to talk about some scheduling stuff. And the deal with that is that the trial will start Monday and Tuesday at 10 instead of 10:30. So we're bumping it up a half hour. I think the judge wants to get this done. How did Lori find out that Nancy Jo had met Adam super recently? Marta asks. I don't know. I don't know that. I think that she has the chance, her defense team has the chance to interview the prosecution witnesses. So it's possible her investigator called them, or one of her attorneys called, and they said, have you talked to the other witnesses? And that's where the information came out. But I don't know the specifics. What was Lori's demeanor as Kay testified? I played a clip there, Glenn. I'm sure you could see it. But in the courtroom, she took notes. It's very hard because they have the media on the, not that I'm complaining because I'm glad to be in there, but we're all on the back row. And we see the backs of heads. It's not like in Idaho, the defendant was sitting sideways so we could look over and see. But here we're seeing the back of heads. But she looked at her, she took notes, and then obviously on her cross, she was quite timid. Just like so many, I've been following this case for 5 years, is from Jennifer. How many people would you say are new to the case? Is there a way to know that? Oh, I have no idea, Jennifer, other than what I just asked. But there are people every day who are like, I just found out about this, or I just found your channel, or who are you? Yesterday, Jordan and I were live on the way to the courthouse, and they're like, who's Nate? Someone, maybe they were joking, but I don't know. And our analytics show that a lot of people find this program just through a random algorithm that pops up on their feed. So welcome to those of you. Would you please tell us about the jury's body language today? Belle asks. They were intense. I did notice some were taking notes. In fact, at one point, one of the ladies on the jury, during the back and forth between Sarena and Lori, took out her binder, the juror did, and started to write and then closed it. So they are taking notes. They are intent and focused, and they've been through 5 witnesses just today. So I think that they're, in tune and paying attention. Malcolm, if Lori gets 25 years for Charles's murder, will the judge order a consecutive sentence to her life sentence? Otherwise, she'll have to die before serving justice to Charles. Also, will Idaho State give her to Arizona for 25 years, so not having to fund her crimes in Arizona, then have her back? No. No matter what happens in Arizona, Lori goes to Idaho when it's done. She could get sentenced to 1 day. She could get sentenced for 100 years. She's serving the rest of her life in Idaho. Now, in Idaho, if for some reason her case gets overturned on appeal and they do another trial and she's found not guilty, she'll return to Arizona and serve her time here. But she is an Idaho inmate. Idaho takes precedent. That was part of the agreement when they extradited her back. How did blood get on the tap of the house? Liddy. Well, this would be pure speculation, but Adam was bleeding a little at the back of his head, and maybe whatever he caused the blood there to do, he went and he smeared it on the faucet. Or maybe he got a little blood on him. I don't know how he would have, because he probably didn't touch Charles and he went and smeared it. It wasn't a lot of blood, but I'm thinking it's from whatever he did to himself to hurt his head, or however he hurt it. That's what happened. On Lori's interview with Keith Morrison, she stated her belief that she would be exonerated. But on her most recent interview, she said something to the effect of, my life is mostly over. My God wants me to serve these people in prison, so be it. Two opposites and conflicting statements. Did you notice this? And what do you think? Do you think it's truly religious delusion, or do you think she's getting a grip on reality? Good question. I think it's both. She's been saying for years that she will be exonerated, that she and Chad will be together. In Idaho, she said repeatedly during her trial that Jesus would come and set her free and that it really didn't matter. And then there are days, I think, as time goes by, that she realizes, well, maybe God changed his plan and this is what he wants for me. So I think it's a little bit of both. Definitely the religious delusion, but also coming to terms with reality that, well, I'm not here. Maybe in her eyes, exoneration is going before the Lord one day, and the Lord, clears her of any crime. I'll ask 2 or 3 more. Do you think you'll ever interview Adam? I'd love to interview Adam. I actually have interviewed Adam and his uncle Rex. If you go back probably about a year ago, maybe, on our YouTube channel. But I'd love to talk to him again, absolutely. Did Lori flip the bird at Kay? A lot of you were talking about this. I went back and watched the video, and I don't believe she did. She was getting her notepad. Kay left the stand and went, and Colby gave her a hug. And Lori had her notebook kind of like this and was like holding up her pen. I would have noticed that, I believe, and I think so many other people would have, and I did not see that or hear that. Did Adam make eye contact with Lori while testifying? Oh, yes, absolutely. He looked at her. Yep, looked right at her. Why isn't there any mention of the pool party that took place after Charles died? Daniel asked. We did mention that. The detective talked about it the other day, that Lori was talking about not being able to go to a pool party. I don't know if there's ever been any strong, firm official photos from a pool party or video from a pool party that it actually happened, but we have talked about it and we have brought it up. All right. Oh, one more. Denise or Diane, was I surprised to hear about Charles and Tylee's relationship? Not really. I mean, I had heard a lot that Tylee was a teenager, and there was a lot of moving around with Lori, and there was a lot of she's raising her brother in a way, and a lot of stuff going on, and she just was a teenager, and teenagers tend to clash with their parents, and I think that there was some of that. So I wasn't surprised at all to hear that. You think about the home that she was in with Lori and all that, and I'm sure there was a little bit of frustration on Tylee's part too. Okay, everybody, I think there's a lot more, but I think we'll call it there. So appreciate you watching. Remember, if you want to send me a 10-second video about your number one takeaway so far, men and women. Men, if you're watching, I want to see them too. Because I get a lot from the women, which I love. I love you ladies, but I want to hear from guys too. Play some of those tomorrow and throughout the weekend. And I hope you have a great Friday. No court tomorrow. No court tomorrow. No court tomorrow. If that changes, you know that I'll bring it to you. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great night. We'll see you.